Hi everyone, welcome to this eye tutorial. This is the third in a series of video tutorials focusing on eyes. There will also be others focusing on noses, ears and different types of fur and different colour fur. This one obviously is, we're doing a horse's eye. So first thing we're going to do is transfer a line drawing onto our support. Support that I'm using is Clairefontaine Pastelmat, and all I've done is literally, you can transfer the line drawing over however you wish. What I've done is literally I've put a layer of graphite paper, graphite transfer paper over the top, and then I've popped a copy of the reference image printed to size over the top. I'm just going to show you something quickly, if I can just move the camera a second. One thing you can do at this point is when you attach your photo, my support is attached right on the corner there. Then I've attached my transfer paper here with the tape here. And then I've popped my reference image over the top again, so you can see that tape isn't over the top of this one. What I want to do at some point is slide that paper away before I finish the transfer, because I've got to transfer some of these lines without having graphite paper underneath. I'll show you how and what I mean a little later on, but I just wanted to show you that first of all. Let me just do the camera back up there. Okay, so to transfer the image over, you can use a sharp pencil, or here I'm just using my stylus. I'm using my finest stylus. Also here I do have, let's just see if I can show you that as well. Just zoom the camera around again. I just wasn't planning on this. Let me just see if I can undo the camera. Okay, so here you can see I've got my raised drawing board, and here I've got my tablet suspended with the reference image, so I can refer back to a high-res reference image at all times as well. Let me just line the camera back up again there. Didn't seem to be very happy at me moving it. Okay, all lined up again, so we are good to start transferring over our image. Okay, so I'm going to ignore all the lashes. That's going to be something that I'm going to transfer over without the graphite paper being there, because what I don't want to do is push these lashes into the pastel mat and have the lines filled with graphite. So I'm going to just go up. You can see I don't draw fixed lines. I sort of dot and dash my way across to get my outlines. Now firstly, I always leave this bottom area free of tape so I can just look underneath and make sure that I've got an image going down. Oops, that was my glasses knocking the camera. So I'm just going to mark in a few more dots. Just pick out the key lines, and you'll just use these as marker lines when you start putting in your pencil. So I'm just going to put in some of that upper lid. Apologies if I am knocking the camera, because I've actually got a different camera set up today. I've switched sides with it all. So hopefully this is going to give me, at the moment it seems to be giving me a much better angle to approach my drawing. Now I'm just going to put in a hint of where this brow ends. It sinks into the darkness over on this side. Just be careful as well how hard you're pressing down here. You can lift graphite. You can see it's making a bit of a mess on here, but we're covering most of it with pencils. Anyway, I'm just going to look at my reference photo here, because we've actually got another bit of that eye socket coming around there. This line going up here. Again, we're only going to do like a hint of this outside fur anyway, because what we're mainly focusing on is the eye itself. Obviously, if you've already had a go at one of the other eye video tutorials, you'll understand what we're doing here anyway, and our main objective, and also how we approach doing excuse me, some of the fur on that one. Okay, so I'm looking in here now. I'm going to come into the eye itself. I'm just going to mark in some key lines. See these two hairs here? I'm just going to ignore those. We're going to go straight on through those. We're not going to have those in our image. Here I'm marking in those dark lines. If I go quiet, I do say this in a lot of my videos, it's just because I'm just concentrating, so just getting that little hint of that highlight in there. Just mark around this highlight on the lower lid here. Hint of some of this reflection, and the pupil itself. Again, if you listen to my other videos, you'll understand also about shapes of pupils in different animals, but I will mention all of that again later on as we are filling in the colour. Now you can't see it in this image very well, but if you keep looking back to your high-res reference image, you'll just see some of these eye lashes do cast a shadow in over the eyeball itself. Okay, so back to here, I've got that white highlight marked in. Just mark in where that dark is, just the bottom edge of that next layer of dark. You can feel as well where we marked in. Okay, so hint of some of this fur direction, how it comes out over. That lower bulge of the socket. Just checking in here to make sure we've got all this reflection. I'm also going to lift as a hair there at the moment. I'm going to ignore that as well. We're going to clean it up a little bit. So I'm just going to mark in around that highlight there. A little bit of that fur detail around there, just some of those shapes. This just gives you a little hint of, I will pop in that top edge just in case we decide to take this up that far. I'm going to give you as well, you have those in the $10 tier. I've already got the full size image for this, so you've actually got the full profile of the head, so you could in theory look to draw that whole shape rather than just the eye. You could draw the whole head, which would be really nice to see. Here's some of the mane coming down. I'll pop a little hint of that coming down over there as well. Just some of this fur direction. I can always call it fur, it's not, it's hair on a horse. I get so used to talking about drawing fur though that it's just a case of habit. There we go, just some hints of that coming out. Around there. I will lift up in a second. I think we've got our shape of our eye. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, so we just need to put some hints here with that direction there as well. It just helps us later on. So all of those lines will disappear. Just to give us some guidelines to follow. Okay, so just some down here. So we might work up to the edge, we might not, but guidelines are there if we need them. So I'm just going to look in here. In here we've actually got where this comes down. Got that dark shape in that. And so now we just need to mark in. That will form the lower part of our upper eyelid. I've just marked in some of the bigger, darker shapes within there. And also across here, I just want to mark in roughly where that highlight cuts across. We are there. So what I'm going to do is just extract graphite paper from underneath, slide it out, if it will come out. There we go. And now what I'm going to go in with, you can go in with this, your stylus if you like, but I've been on a workshop with Jamie Boots, who does graphite, and works very similar to this, using engraving, and he basically uses one of these, and this is basically, it's a dart. You can see here very closely, if you have a look, you can probably see where flights go in. You can just see that or not. Anyway, right, so what we're going to do is use this to engrave some of those lashes into place. And then we can got those lines impressed into the paper. And then we can go over it with our dark pencils, exactly the same as we've done before, using to do whiskers, etc. But with this dart, you've got to put decent pressure in that to make sure you're pressing through, and always drag towards you as well. Don't push away. Now, they don't have to be exact, but as long as you are getting the impression of those lashes. And the other thing as well is, obviously working on Pastelmat, I could go in straight onto the paper because it will take the pressure of being scraped straight onto the surface. It will take that kind of abuse. And again, we can always go in later on as well and lift pigment back off using a knife or our slice blade. So I followed that kind of pretty closely. Whilst I'm here, I'm just gonna use this as well now, just to texturize up. I might go in straight onto the paper, to be honest. Just use this now just to texture up some of these little areas. It just helps later on that you can just rub a pencil over this and you've already got some of your texture that you want to create already down on your support. And this is great because you can use this tool as well whilst you're actually doing your pencil work. So you can put a layer of pencil down and then you can press it in with this tool and then go over it with yet another colour, and the previous layer that you've already pressed in will remain that colour that you pressed in, and then the new colour will go on the surrounding areas. We'll do some of that later on so you can see what I mean. Okay, so I'm just going to texturize some of this. So in theory now we've just got a couple of line drawings. We've got our graphite transfer, and then we've also gone in with this dart and we've engraved another set of lines. Some of these wisps in at the main. I'm careful to lean my dart so that I'm still pulling away rather than pushing, because if you push you're just going to cut up through and tear your paper. Pastelmat will take a lot of abuse. I don't think it'll like that. Just make sure you're following the direction of those hairs. That should do us. There we go. Don't think there's anything else I want to impress in. Just a little bit of those highlights. And that should do us nicely. So if I lift off that image now, I'm going to keep this to one side because you can use it as you're working. You can always flip this back up just to see if you lose a line. You can just refer back to this and go, okay, I impressed there, so that is what I was outlining or marking in. And you should be able to find that then back on your actual drawing. I'll zoom in here and see if you're able to see. You should be able to see there, especially if I angle the light a little bit. You should be able to see where we've got our, let's see, I can indent a little bit more here now of those. I'm just going to piece of glassine paper under my hand. I don't want to be lifting up this graphite under here. So let me just come in here. I'm going to impress in a little bit more. Now these probably aren't going to be exact to what is in the reference image, because I can't completely see where I've marked those previous strokes in, so I'm just going to put in a few of these, and that will have preserved some of those lines nicely for us. Okay, so you should be able to see those now. So I zoom back out. Now the first thing I will do, I was going to work with the new Derwent Lightfast, but I've looked at the pencils that I've been sent. I will pull, if I can find them, I'll pull some out for you. No, I've looked at the pencils that I've been sent, and even though I've got Derwent Lightfast, I haven't, even though I know that is the black, there's no reference on there to say what colour it is, so I can't. Here's a blue. But again, I haven't got a colour chart for them because they were sent to me quite early on in their formulation process. So I know they've changed some of these again. So I mean, I could do a tutorial with them. I'll do a practice and one that you don't have to follow, but I can't give you any sort of conversion chart at the moment to convert it to. I could say, well, you know, this one to me is the closest to, I don't know, burnt umber or something in Polychromos, but it'd be guesswork and you wouldn't be able to follow the tutorial exactly. I mean, I hope that you would look for your own colours anyway, but for this, obviously, I need it to be quite accurate for you guys to be able to follow, because it is, like I say, a tutorial. So what I'm going to do first of all is just want to just tip my reference photo up a little bit here. So where we did this, these lines, this engraving, I'll zoom in a little. Now I'm going to just get this, remember pressure test, you've all done your pressure test, haven't you? Just, if you haven't, do it again anyway, just to remind yourself. So I'm going to hold the pencil quite loosely at the top. I've got my dark indigo. And what I'm going to do is just to give us a little hint of where some of that engraving was. I'm just going to rub over here. Very lightly. literally sort of a pressure 2 almost, not 1 to 2, just to mark in and give us an idea where some of those lines are that we've marked in on those lashes. Now if you're working on white paper, obviously your lashes will be even brighter. I'm working on this maize orangey colour today. It's one of those colours I thought, oh yeah, I'll buy some of that, I'll like that, and I've seen others working on it and I really just don't like it, and I just don't use it on my commission pieces. I came across a piece today and I thought, you know what, that'll be perfect for our little project. So there you can see where we've engraved those lines. I could just push these in a little deeper. I mean, that's the thing with the pastel mat. We know that we can just put our dark layers down and go in over the top with our light layers later on. This just gives you a lovely negative image way of working, especially if you've got something as fine as these eyelashes going down over the top of that eye later on. Okay, so that's transferring our line drawing over, explaining a little bit why we're doing the engraving and how we're doing it. So next we will go on to starting to build up shape of our eyeball, and we're going to put in like an outline as well, and then we'll just we'll colour in the eye and gradually build up the layers so that we start to eliminate that rough tooth. To be honest, the tooth on this, I've noticed on this paper, is not as dense, grainy as it is on, say, the anthracite pastel mat that we use quite a lot of. So going to select a few colours as well. I mean, I can see in there we've got dark indigo, we've got caput mortuum violet, a little touch of cinnamon, some of our greys, a little touch probably of there's an umber in there as well. Then obviously the colour of the surround as well. So I'm just going to go in first of all again with our darks. We'll go in with I've got my black, my dark indigo, and I am just looking for my caput mortuum violet, and there it is. I'm going to make sure they're all nice, super sharp pencils, even though I do say, oh, I'm going to grab my white as well, even though I do say when you're working on your fur layers, don't go in straight away with super sharp pencils. When you're working on your eyes, you can. Okay, so let me get a piece of glassine in place. I'm going to tape it into place as well. It's that way, because I'm not. It's only a small area that we're working on. Just fix that into place. Okay, so starting to put in some of our shapes now, and just remember, let's say you've got your image there, remember which lines you put down where, and just start to shade in up to them. So we had our main part of our eye coming down here, and measure things as well. It's absolutely fine just to make sure you're measuring and checking angles all the time. So we're just gonna block in some of our shapes. Till I'm concentrating again. Just light pressure again. See my little strokes, little circular motions, scumbling motion. Start to mark in that upper outline. Just want to give ourselves a nice shape to then fill in. Okay, I've just zoomed in a little bit there, and I've also picked up warm grey 2 here. Just going to mark in just the lower part. A couple of the shapes within here. The highlights. I don't want to go in with the white because the white is too harsh. Just want to get in a couple of these shapes in case I lose them. Again, it's one of the reasons I don't like using the graphite paper. You can tend to just lose some of the shapes that you've marked in there. So just go through with a warm grey or a cool grey. Just it's not bright white then. And you just pick some of these out. So then when you work around them with your darker colours, you're not going to lose them. Just keep flicking back. So you see me pausing, it's just I'm just flicking my eye back over to that reference. We've also got that highlight coming in through here. So again, like when we're working on bigger areas and we colour block, we're just simply colour blocking here as well. So that'll be that line across there. And here. Again, there's lots of fleshy colours in here, cinnamon, and I could put mortem, which we can pop in later on. But just keep it nice and simple first of all, just to get these initial colours down. Okay, that is fine. Up here again, then we've got top edge of that. Brow. Just that inner edge there. Whilst we're here, we'll just come and mark around here as well. Just gives us a really good idea of where our shapes are. And again, let's say colour blocking, all we're doing is we're just filling in our shapes, darks, lights, contrast colours. And I'm going to mark in the top edge of the lower lid here, and I am going to use the white. I'm just going to dot along that edge. Tiny bit of tape, I'm just going to lift off some of that graphite just to soften it back along the edge as well. Use a putty rubber if you need to dab. But there you go, I'm just going to soften that line a little bit. Or Scotch tape works perfectly well as well. I just use the framer's tape. Because it's very low tack. So I use it instead of masking tape. I use it for a lot of different purposes. And of course I also use it in my framing. So just sharpen that line there. And then I'm going to push a hint of this highlight. There's some lovely indigo blues reflected in this lower lid line as well, but again we just want to mark it in there because it's so much brighter than any other real highlights. A couple little dots in through here. Here, little touches up here over the eye. This is just now going to give us a lovely feel of a few different textures going on. A little bit of the form of the roundness of that socket just beginning to show itself to us as well. And that should be enough for now. Let me just a little hint of that upper highlight in through there as well. Okay, so I'm going to get my, I just want to fill this area quite quickly now, so I've got my Caput Mortem Violet, and I've got some shapes in here. Just going to fill in, there's a little mix there, I need to get some dark indigo in there as well. But remember, if you've done the cat eye or the dog eye tutorials, you know how we build these shapes up in here in the layers, and you know how many different colours we will mix and blend to achieve. This is quite crude at the moment, we're literally just putting down blocks of colour, but we will be putting in lots of flesh, light flesh over the top of here. So some dark indigo to darken down some of this bits just under here. And then we'll go over the top with a warm grey, and it will all blend together. Your paper is your mixing palette, remember? And you're just going to build your layers of pencil, and they're going to blend and mix to achieve colours and hues and values that you are aiming for. That's the theory. Okay, so this bit under here is more brownish. I'm still going to put in a little hint of this autumn violet along here. Just blend a little bit with black in that pupil. Touch through there. Again, I'm going to use the umbers in through there. Back to my dark indigo now. I'll see here where I said about mixing. Touch with that eye there. You can already see just that little touch there where it's blended and already softened what we are doing. Just keep making sure that you've got those shapes, your initial shapes. You don't want to lose those initial shapes and placements. I've got my dark indigo here again now. I'll need to bring some black in under here just to darken it up. I'm just using the dark indigo as my real dark at the moment, just to get these shapes in. You can see how grainy the paper is. It's going on quite nicely actually. So as much as I've had this sheet of paper sat in my store for years now, it's actually working quite well for this little project. I almost gave it all away, so I'm quite glad I held on to it now. Okay, so a little bit more pressure exerted now in there. You can just see it's not going into those initial lines that we engraved in. So I'm still using that circular motion, working quite quickly. Lots of beautiful touches of sanguine up over this upper lid as well, which will come in later on. And when you start to look closely at that reference image, you'll start to see all different colours in here, and you can actually look, when you look between the lashes in the reference image, you can see the reflection of the sky in there. Deepen up this shadow in here now, so there's a lot of dark indigo in use at the moment. Try and ignore the texture as well. Just look at the colours within. It's quite a good one, this, because I know some of the other reference images that were offered up as an option for this horse eye were a little bit more obvious. You could either see me reflected in the image, which meant basically, you had a real sharp, definite image to pick out, whereas this one is a lot more subtle, so it is more difficult because you've got to look really hard for the shapes within on this one. Need to pull out some of the dark greys in a minute as well. Let's get some of these dark areas really darkened up now. And don't forget, it doesn't matter how dark you take this, you can go back in with your lighter pencils, add in some of your mid-tones again, or if you need to take it all the way up to light, you can still go in there with your lightest pencil as well. This line here, the light line above, that is going to be going in a sky blue in a bit as well. Or even a touch of Delft blue or purple in there as well. Just sinking the shadow right back here in those darkest recess corners of the eye. Again, we'll soften them back with some dark indigo. Okay, coming in here, I'm just being careful, I'm trying just to go around some of those engraved shapes. Our pupil in here is lovely and dark, so we can take that darker. Just sharpen up my pencil again in a second, so I can make sure I'm being nice and precise. Okay, just want to build up this shadow down here a bit more. Sharpen up quickly. It's quite funny actually, I pulled my hand away from the camera then just to sharpen up, and when I came back it was, the camera's recognised this as being an eye. I'm just trying to focus in on the eye. It's quite nice. Picking some of those shadows out in. Around the lashes there. Okay, so that gives us quite a good, although albeit quite basic, crude foundation for us to start to build on now. Just want to get my reference photo just lined up alongside this now. Make sure I've got everything in proportion and going off at the right angles. Like in here it needs to be a lot darker as this comes down around here, in here. But again, we'll build that up with our layers. And you can also see how that engraving is going to work beautifully if you want to use it on any area really, the main, anywhere there's texture you can use that technique. I'm going to use it a lot more in my drawings going forwards. touch more of our dark indigo in here. And some more of that. Put autumn violet. And we'll be able to start bringing in our mid-tones and some of our lights as well when we start getting to the next stages. Just soften that as well. And also take our dark indigo just over that grey and soften that. Very light layer I've just took over there. Okay, so I'm going to leave it there for today, and when we come back we will start to work more on this pupil, build up the fleshy areas in here, get some of the texture of the underlid, or sorry, the top of the lower lid all around here as well, and this texture coming up over the top. It all helps to really show us that that eye is a ball within the bone of the socket joint. Thank you. Okay, so we're coming in here. I've just tightened up a tiny little bit with a couple of the darks. I've come back in with, I've got different pencils now. So our initial darks there was our black, put autumn violet, and our indigo, dark indigo. I've brought in, I've got Prussian blue, sky blue, raw amber, I've got a couple of warm greys, 2 and 3, and then we've got cinnamon, light flesh, and the white. So this is all filled in a little bit more, but what I'm doing now is just coming in with the cinnamon. So we put in our darks, so our dark indigo, black, and the autumn violet, and now we're working up, filling this tooth, or starting to fill the tooth with our midtones and our lights, and then we will knock it back. And when I say knock it back, it's just a term that I use for taking it all back down to dark if we need it to, and then building these midtones and highlights once more. I've also added just a little touch more of the dark in a couple of places, just on the outline outside, so it just gives us a nice hint of where that shadow there is, where the top, that sinks behind the top of the eye socket, the bone underneath and the lid. So that goes in there, and this is the eye socket below, so it's just remembering that we've got that solid bone shape underneath the eye, and the eyeball is that roundish shape within. So small circular scumbling motion. Bring in a tiny hint of the sky blue just here. Now we'll come up to the light flesh, just up through here. Look really close, I'm just looking at this shape, almost like a triangular shape, ignoring everything else at the moment and just focusing on this small area. And your angles, as well as your colours and your tones. Just about looking. I'll do that little thing again that I do on some of my videos to give you an idea of how many times I am looking at that reference. So here we go, let's see if I can keep up with myself. I can't usually. So, drawing, reference drawing, reference drawing, reference drawing, reference drawing, drawing, reference drawing, reference drawing. So you get an idea. That's how much I'm flicking my eyes backwards and forwards. And again, I'm repeating myself, but for those of you that this is maybe your first video with me, this is something that when I'm teaching the workshops, so I just got distracted. I just want to tighten up this little highlight here as well. When I'm teaching the workshops, I will keep an eye on the students, and even though I'm saying to them, keep looking at your reference, keep looking at your reference, I can stand there and I can see some people, they'll start off with good intentions and their eyes are flicking to the reference, but then I can watch them and they can be there for like a minute, 2 minutes, and they haven't once looked at the reference. So, and they're starting to go off, you know, working further across, they have not referred back to their actual image. And then when they do look, it's like something's not in alignment all of a sudden, and they're staring at it thinking something's not right, and it's because they've started drawing what they imagine is there rather than what actually is there. Okay, so I'm just got distracted because I just wanted to pop in some little hints. This warm grey, really light pressure down here. It's just a hint of this. And that's too much there. I just need to get something in the tooth, though. That's going to be knocked back again in a second. Just using this warm grey just to glaze over what was down previously. Now I've got reflection on my actual reference there as well, so just flicking my eyes again backwards and forwards, backwards and forwards. Now I'm going to glaze over here really softly, and then I'm going to go back in with my darks. I'm also going to glaze over that dark area there, and then I'll go back in with my Caput Mortem Violet and give it more of a red tone there. So look at that angle. It needs to come up a tiny bit more there. That's much better. There we go. Okay, so back in here, I'm going to go back in first of all with our cinnamon. Soften down that edge there. And up here. And then I'll come back in here with that Caput Mortem Violet in a second. Okay, so first line I want to do actually is just tighten that black line up there. Just sharpen that up. Because that is really dark, that line that comes around there. Okay, so now in with this Caput Mortem. notice the first layers we put down were quite loose, just like I say, we were just colour blocking, filling in that space. And then as we build the layers, then we just start to work a little bit tighter, paying a little bit more attention. It's quite textured in here. Let's get a little hint of it. In fact, a tiny touch of extra light in there first of all. A few little dobs of placement. If you zoom in on the reference, you'll see these little shapes within. Now I think now a little touch of that sky blue. Little touches all the time there. And so these are your lights, so just mix these lights together to blend and build the colours that you're looking for there. Okay, so I'll put some light flesh in there as well. So let's go in here now, got this dark in it. I could put more some violet, and let's really get these nice dark shapes in there. We'll need a little touch of dark indigo to go in there as well. So a little dip in there, little dip in there. And I'd say mine is not exact, but it gives that impression of the detail that's all tucked in there. Again, you won't be drawing an eye this big unless you're doing a huge, huge portrait. So this is just to show you what is in there and what you will find that next time you go to draw a horse's eye that you will be trying to get more of this detail in there than you would have done before doing this tutorial. Even I noticed that myself when I did the eye tutorials, and then I went back to doing a couple of portraits. I was still pretty much squeezing in all of those extra details that I could see. So I'm just enhancing a couple of little spots within that. I could put Molten Violet there with this dark indigo. Touch of highlight just up here, triangle there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that section pretty much like that for now. A touch more dark indigo just around this lower area. I'll take some of this indigo down over here as well. Now I'm going to put in my Caran d'Ache Pablo white as well. Just gives me a nicer, brighter white. In fact, I was going to pop in a little dot of it there, a little tiny dot in there. Here. It just gives a brighter, whiter white than the Polychromo, which the Polychromo is going on fine, but it's more of a translucent white. Okay, so just around the bottom here, there's a little tiny highlight. Just there and here. Another white you can use will be a watercolour pencil white, which you can use for, you can just dampen the edge of the actual nib itself of the pencil, and then dot it onto an area, and that'll give you release pure white pigment onto that little area that you dot. Oh, now I'm looking at this looks quite purple up around here, but I'm going to just use, take out some of that with the indigo again. In fact, as well, just a touch of the black just will increase that line there. What I'm going to do is just get that inside inner eyelid, lower inner eyelid marked in. You might want to spin your paper upside down to draw this one in, but obviously mine is positioned for the camera. There we go. And touch in there with a little hint of grey, just to highlight the top of that edge. And then I'll go back in with dark indigo, just to thin that line down again. There we go, there's a nice soft line there now. One here is thickening a tiny bit, it's almost like a double line there. So it just comes around there. In fact, it doesn't come all the way across there, so let me just cut through that a tiny bit there. That's much better. So slowly, okay, so I'm going to just come up here now to this lower area, pop some more, put some violet along here. I'm also going to bring in some raw umber. Very, very grainy here. So I think it's raw umber I'm going to pull in. Yes, it is. I'm going to pull in some of this just along here. It's almost like a little crisscross of the shadows of the eyelashes coming down here, but we'll just ignore that texture for now and just get our colours in there that I know are in there. I'm going to look as well at this moment, see if there's any of this colour anywhere else. Pop a tiny bit up in the pupil itself. Now that's... so I'm not going to be using my burnt ochre, I'll just take that away. So now I need that dark indigo. Back up here. This is roughly coming across here, up to here. This is where our highlight is. Got a highlight above this line. Anything below this line, especially in the centre, needs to be taken a lot darker. Okay, so I'm just going to soften back over here. In fact, I think in there we need to put in a different grey. Now I've got my Payne's grey, or I've got a cold grey, the 6. I think the Payne's grey, which is this very dark grey that I do tend to pull in quite a bit. Now we'll use this as well around the upper and lower lids, especially the lower lid. So I'm just going to come in here, soften, mix a little bit in with this raw umber. Again, I'm just using small circular motions. As I do this, I'll soften back that highlight and we'll pop that highlight back in again. And to work this texture as well around this highlight. Again, I think I'll be using this pencil for this one. We'll brighten it up with our Pablo white. And I'll soften it in places and then give it a little bit of texture as well. Nice. Okay, so a few more strokes of the dark, a little bit more of some violet. I'm going to follow that with some indigo and maybe a couple of slithers of the black. Just keeping an eye on these angles again. Okay, so sharpen up my black. So we have got again, I think I'm going to have to go over this and see the tooth really grainy still. So we'll repeat this process. Just push some of this shadow up. By working this reference image as well, because it is quite difficult to see and pick out the highlight, it's not super obvious. It means that when you do then get a nice obvious reference photo, you should be able to just nail it because you've already worked something much more difficult like this one. Okay, so the dark line coming around here again. Got that one there. This one here. We just need to increase this depth. That pupil there. Just whilst I'm here, this is exaggerating it a little bit, but I'm going to pop in hint of this blue, Prussian blue, just around here. Just gives more of a hint of a reflected sky as well. Just one of those little tricks of using the sky blue but also pulling in your Prussian blue. Just to help give that impression of the reflection of the sky. Now I'm going to come in under here now with the cinnamon again. See how much I can just lighten the lower part of that iris there. That's just perfect. I'll go over this as well with raw umber and our light grey. So to widen up this area a little bit of the grey. Yeah, I'm just getting a little more hint of that highlight through there. Again, sneak in a tiny bit more little dots of that Prussian blue through there as well, just in places. Okay, so I'm going to look now at this highlight. At the moment it seems to be coming up from there. It needs to be coming up. Little dip there. Just a tiny bit further across. Take that back a tiny little bit. I'll take that dark back up into there again. Really, really light touch I'm using here as well. in those fine lines now. Just gives a hint of those reflection, texture lines. And just let the pastel mat do the work. You can feel the pencil touching the mat. It will be gripping some of the pigment. The tooth will be grabbing it. Okay, we've lost hints of umber in here, so I'm going to push some of those back in again now. Across there. I will use our Polychromo white just to emphasize a couple of those highlight lines. Really light touch, I'm just feeling it. Trying to press, or not press, trying to pop a little bit of pigment on there. If it doesn't leave its mark, I just go in, wiggle it a tiny bit more pressure until it does. Okay, so I'll cut back through that again now. That black. touch that umber again on here. And also some that I could put mortem. Come back in here at the end and add more texture, but this is a nice build up here. Just take a little bit more of that shadow there. Just using that Payne's grey again. Quite happy to leave that there for now for that central part. So I'm going to pop in, let's have a look, I think I want to pop in some of this lower lid and around the edges as well now. So what I might do actually, just whilst I'm here, again I'm probably going to turn the paper upside down to do those lashes later on. And let me, whilst I'm just here, my pencil's nice and sharp, just see how we're going to look to pop these lashes in. Yeah, they seem to be sinking in there nicely. It's going to take a couple of goes to do this because your eyes are really straining, looking for those earlier indentation lines. And again, go back in here, it's not just going to be white lashes going in here, it's going to be different greys. There's some could put mortem in there as well. So it's not going to be a case of just coming in. Oh, see, look at that. That's our white pencil tip snapped off just where we didn't want it to. You have to be really careful how much pressure you put on. So even though we'll go in first of all with a nice white tip. See if we can get that line in there again. I've got to go around that one with our dark pencils. I'm not using a huge amount of pressure here. will work better if we work this upside down. And you can push your pencil away. But this gives us a nice idea of how well and how pure our pencil is going to go in there later on. Let's get a little bit more pigment in some of those areas so I don't lose them. There you go. That's nice. And we need to cut around, obviously, all of these. Increase the shadow. Work the highlight. Done a few more than I intended. Okay, starting to look like an eye with eyelashes. I'll say these, just getting some pigment in here. We need to go over all of these because within these lashes there is, I'm going to pull back this burnt ochre now, there is hints of burnt ochre through there. There's going to be indigo blue through there as well. Lots of different colours. And I'll put in some sanguine as well. Just darkening up whilst we're up here, just along inside that top edge of the lid. Go in there as well with some of the dark indigo. So my eyes are actually struggling just to see between these lashes already. So do a little bit, then work on another area, and then come back and do a little bit more. I know when I was on a recent workshop with Jamie Boots, who does the graphite work, he showed us how he did some of his whiskers, and he said that he'd only be able to show us one or two because when he actually does his whiskers, like on a lion piece or something like that, he'll do maybe 2 or 3 whiskers a day, and then that's it. That's his eyes are completely gone, and he has to rest them or work on another area. And your eyes are, it's imperative you do rest your eyes. Because otherwise they're not going to be any good for anyone, let alone for your drawing. Okay, so you can see there in that corner, sharpen this white up again. When you start looking at the lashes, they're not one clean swoop. They're all dips of different levels of value, hints of white reflection, but mostly the different colours and different values. Distracted by these now. I am going to stop, like I say, because my eyes are hurting as well. Okay, so just whilst I'm there with that white, I'm just going to just lightly pop in a couple of these reflections again. Okay, so we're going to work on the outer area now.